This video will explain how to create a custom GUI window in Maya that will allow us to be able to select different controls on a character rig, or really for that matter whatever you would like the window buttons to control, in an easy way, in an easy fashion, other than having to manually click on them or to open up the outliner to find them. So we're going to use Maya's scripting language called Mel in order to set up a custom window that will have several different buttons that will also allow us to click on the buttons and select the different parts of this character rig. So it's kind of really nice to do for custom character rigs where you want to make it easier for the animator to select and animate the different parts of the body without having to struggle and figure out what parts or what parts allow the body to move. Okay, so we're going to use Maya's scripting language, and there's a little window button down the bottom right. So this is the command line for Mel. It says Mel right here. On the bottom right side there's a button, and this opens up the script editor. So right now nothing is happening, but the moment you come and click on an object, you can see the top line is showing you any command that you execute as you are using the program. So you can select something, you can rotate something, it'll give you those commands. So basically anything that you do in Maya, it records and allows you to be able to use this for a custom script that will be executed either when you click the execute button or even when you open up Maya and run this script. Okay, so the top section is where you see what's happening, and this will also tell you if there's any errors or whatnot. The bottom section is the scripting languages. So we have Mel, we also have Python. So Python is another scripting language that is used on many different programs, but Mel is specific to Maya. So what we're going to do is just use Mel, and you could consequently use Python for this as well. So we'll pull in a couple examples, and I'm going to talk about what they do, and then we'll run through those two examples. So I have just some lines of code written out in Notepad. It's a good simple program to be able to use to write your code out for practicing before you actually try to execute it in a program. So the first one, we're just going to create some basic objects and create a GUI system just to select those three objects. And then we'll take this very simple setup and apply that to this character rig with a couple other adjustments like background color and things like that. So I have this top section with the two forward slashes, and these are parts of the script that do not actually do anything. They're called commenting out lines of code, which means it's not actually going to create any commands within the system. And in the color coordination, once we get into Mel, you'll see these are going to be red lines. So these top sections are typically used for explaining what this script does. Okay, so the basic idea for this script is going to create a window. So the first line says window, and then the second line tells it the window what to look like. So it's grid layout, how many columns, and then the width height ratio of each button. So underneath that is a list of all the buttons that we're going to create. So basically we tell it to create a button, we tell it to label that button, whatever we want the text to say inside that button, and then we're telling the button to do something. So what is the command that this button's going to do? In this case, this would be a simple select an object called ball1. So we're going to do the same thing with a couple other objects as well. And then finally we tell the program to show the window. So let's run through that. So when we're starting to script here, we don't have to add the comments out. That just helps the animator or whoever's using this script be able to understand what to do. So I'm going to skip the commenting for right now. So what I'm going to do is just type in window, and then I'm going to put a semicolon. It's going to color coordinate things for you pretty easily. We're going to type in grid layout, and with coding, especially in a program like this, like Mel scripting, typically if there's more than one word, the first word is always going to be lowercase, the second word and even third and fourth word are always going to be uppercase. So if there's only one word, we just simply put everything in lowercase. If there's two words, the second and consequent words will always be in uppercase. So I'm going to do grid layout in a space, and I'm going to type in number of columns, another space, and then 3, so that tells it 3 columns. I'm going to do a dash whenever I'm adding another command. So this is going to be cell width and height, another space, and then this is the width will be 90 and the height will be 50. We always add a semicolon to complete that line of code there. So next couple lines is going to be the buttons. So button, and then the wrong one, just one dash, and label, and then I'm going to do the quotation mark, and then I'm going to type whatever I want this button to say in the text. So this is going to be ball. I'm going to create a ball, I'm going to create a cube, and I'm going to create a comb, and I'm going to tell it to select each one of them when I click this button. So I'm going to choose command, so this is a dash and command, and this is going to be a parentheses to tell it what to do, and this is going to be select, and I'm going to title this one ball 1. Remember this name because this is what I'm going to actually name the geometry, and I'm going to put that in quotation marks, and then I'm going to close that parenthesis, or that parentheses, and then put a bracket around that, and then put a semicolon. So what I can do is actually just copy this line of code. Oops, just that one line. Put that underneath 2 times. Just put another return here. And then I'm just going to go and change this. So my second one's going to be cube. My third one's going to be cone. And then I'm going to go change from ball 1 to cube 1 and cone 1. And then at the end of this script, I need to tell it to show that window. So show window, and then put a semicolon there. Okay, so in order to execute code, let's go ahead and just drag select everything in the mail window, and then I'm going to hit the execute button. So there's execute all, and then there's an execute button. Typically as you're testing things out, you drag select everything in the window and you choose execute. So it does say there is an issue here. Oh, that's right. So you will be coming across a lot of errors when you're putting in codes, and it'll tell you down here an error line, then it'll tell you kind of what the error is. So it tells you what line it's on. So line 2, and it says error, it's not finding something correctly. So what it is this, I put a equal sign instead of a dash in front of that number of columns. So now that everything should work well. And now it creates a window. So if there's any errors, it won't create the window or run the script correctly, and it'll tell you what those errors are in the lines. But if it runs it correctly, you won't see any errors, and the window should pop up. So right now the buttons don't do anything. Another error will come up, and it'll say no objects match this name. So what I need to do is close this window, and let's just minimize my script editor for a second, and we need to create these objects. So let's go to polygons, and I'm going to go create a polygonal sphere. I'm going to create a polygonal cube. Let's move that there. Well, not a cylinder, but a polygonal cone. There we go. Okay, so I can move these way out of the way over here. We're going to come back and make adjustments to this script for the character rig. So, but just to kind of show a preview of what we can do with this script, I need to remember what I named my 3 objects here for the command. So select ball 1, select cube 1. So my ball needs to be named ball 1. So if I select it and I go over here to the command panel, I can easily type in the name. Instead of p cube, I want to type in cube 1. I could just simply select the object and change the name right here. It says select cone. I can change that to select p cone 1. But instead I'm just going to go ahead and rename everything to what I have over here. Okay, so all my objects are named correctly, and then now when I go back into my mail script and execute this again, make sure you always close the window instead of just recreating the new window. Close the window. Okay, so when I open this back up, the window should be created correctly. And now if I click ball, that's going to select the ball. If I click cube, it's going to select the cube. Same thing for cone. Cone should select the cone. So now I can go back and forth and select each one of them. The system will only let you, with the way this simple script is set up, only select one object at one time. But as you can see, this is a very easy script. There's not a lot of lines of code, and it allows you to easily select things in the scene. Okay, so let's close this window for a second. So when I go back and look at my character rig, I have a lot more controls, and the animator might not know exactly what to do or what all these controls are there for. So here's really where a GUI system like this can be very helpful. So what we're going to do instead is going to take this script and make a couple adjustments to this, and then allow it to select the controls on my character. So I do need to know my control names. So you need to have a custom name for every control that you want to use. So I'm not going to select every control with the system here, but I'm going to do a good variety: the arms, the legs, the move all control, and then the spine, pelvis, and head controls. So we're going to make a couple adjustments here. If I re-execute this code, you can see that it just says window 2. So what would be nice is if I come in here and add a name to this window. So what we're going to do is just actually go through, make a couple adjustments. So in front of the window, I'm going to come in here and adjust this a little bit. It has to be set up a little differently. So this is going to be a string, and I just type in string in space, and it makes it a nice green color to show you it's a string. And I'll put a $sign in front of the window, and I'm going to go make some adjustments to after where it says window. Okay, so I'm going to add a equal sign, and what I'm going to do is put so I'm going to add it's the same button as the squiggly line in the top left above the tab key, but I'm not going to hold down shift to get the squiggly line. I'm going to use the regular symbol for that. So if you just type that button once, it's kind of like a diagonal dash that's on the upper side of the character. So I'm going to type in window again, and I'm going to do a dash title, and this is where I can add a title for my scene or my window. So this is going to be a controls select window. So let's just type in CTRLS for shortcut for controls, and then select, and then I'm going to do the close quotation marks. Okay, so underneath that I'm going to, let's delete that semicolon for a second, and I'm going to hit my tab key to move into the line of code here. I'm going to do a dash width and height, and I'm just telling it a basic setup for how it's going to run the Windows creation. So it's going to do a 200 by 200 window setup, and I'm going to hit that diagonal dash line again, or the squiggly line button above tab. I'm going to hit that again, and then now I'm going to hit the semicolon. So basically that tells the window how large to be for your setup. Okay, I do need to make some adjustments under here. I'm going to actually indent all of my buttons. Just kind of a clean way to set this up. And I'm going to leave the grid layout in here. I don't want to do 3 columns. I want to do 2 columns just for this occasion. And I'm going to make some adjustments to the width and height here. So let's do 100, just slightly wider, and we'll keep 50 for the height. Okay, so all my buttons are really going to be the same. So let's just add maybe one more line of buttons down here. So I do need to make a couple adjustments down here. Since I did create a window string, I need to, where it says show window, I need to then add that show window string here. Window, there we go. So that's going to tell it to show that window that we are making adjustments to up here. Whoop, made a slight error there. Instead of window, it should be window. Okay, so it is, never mind, it is correct. It just looks like a V. So we're good there. Okay, so just make sure that you do have everything set up correctly. If there's something, a syntax or something off, it's not going to run. Okay, so let's just create a couple of controls here. This is going to be the move all control. So let's just title this one move all. And that's going to be this control down here. So I need to know the name. So my large control down here, CTRL underscore move all. So that's what I'm going to type in here. Command select CTRL underscore move all. So let's go ahead and make a couple other controls here. So we'll do the head, we'll do the spine and pelvis, and then we'll add the arms and legs. So let's do head and spine and then pelvis. So these are all going to be controls. So here's my head control, and I name things all pretty similarly. So instead of cube, this is going to be CTRL underscore head. Same thing for all the rest of them. This is CTRL underscore, this was actually a lower spine. So we're just going to do one spine, so it says lower spine there. lower spine. Everything has to be spelled correctly, upper and lowercase, otherwise it's not going to work. Trail lower or lower spine, and this is going to be pelvis. So make sure everything is named correctly, pelvis. Okay, now so let's try the script. So let's select everything again and hit the execute button. So as you see, it's going to create the name, control select, and it's going to create me 4 buttons. So since I have everything named correctly and everything should be inputted correctly, if I click the move all button, it's going to select the move all control. If I click the head, it's going to select the head control. And I can do whatever I want to with this. I can rotate these around. I can select the spine and rotate the spine. I can select the pelvis and move or rotate that pelvis around. So some things that are actually pretty simple to do is create some basic buttons. Okay, so let's actually come through and let's copy one of these down. And we're going to select the right and left arm. So we're going to do the right arm first because this button is going to show up visually looking at the character on the left side, but this is going to be the right arm. So we're going to do right arm and find out what name this is. Control underscore right arm underscore R or IK for the right arm inverse kinematic. So R for right arm, IK. Whoop, I actually typed that into the wrong area, so let's go down here. Make sure it's on the right line. Arm IK. Okay, so let's copy that and paste that underneath that, but we're going to change this one to left arm, then we're going to change that to capital L. So it's always good to test it out in stages. So let's select everything and then click that. So right arm and left arm have been added. Right arm, left arm, you can go back and forth to the different ones and see how they go. Okay, so we're going to copy these two and we're going to do ones for the 2 legs. Whoops, slightly move the character. Okay, so control right foot. So this is going to be, instead of right arm, it's going to be right foot, and control right foot. No, this one's the same setup. So left foot and then left foot. Instead, I actually spelled out the name, so right foot and then left foot. So just make sure everything is set up correctly. Since I spelled out left foot, that has to be the same here. Same thing right there. Right foot spelled out, has to be the same there. Okay, let's run that again. So there's my whole setup. So that's why I set up the width and height to 200 by 200, so it is correct for 2 columns, 4 rows of buttons. So let's test everything out. Move all, head, spine, pelvis, right arm, right foot, and left foot. So that's really the basics for setting up a system here of how we can create a GUI window for some buttons to be able to select some controls on a character, really whatever you want to for that matter. So we just did a simple select command, but there are plenty of other commands that you can input instead of just selecting. So what we're going to do next is actually just change the colors of the background with a very basic background color change input. So what we're going to do is, after the label for each button, but before the command, we're going to add a background change. So if I type in a dash and BGC, this is right after the label and what we're calling that button. So dash BGC, and then I need 3 values. So this is really just between 3 zeros and ones, and that will create some very basic colors. There's plenty of other ways to get more precise colors, but this is the very easiest way to do this. So let's just add this to 1 and see what color 0, 1, 0 does. So let's close this window and reopen it back up. So that makes it a green window. So what happens if I take that 0 out from the middle and do 0, 0, 1? So it makes a blue window. So what if I take those zeros out, or 1s out, and add a 1 to the beginning? So it makes a red box here. So here's how we can be able to create combinations of 0s and 1s to create a variety of colors, but still, limited palette, so it's not too crazy. So what I'm going to do is create a green value for my move all, which is 1 and 1, for the first two, then 0 for the second one. Oh, excuse me, like green, yellow. And we're going to come back and do green for the spine. And I'm trying to match the colors that I have for my actual control colors here. So my move all control is yellow, my spines are green, my left arm is blue, my right arm is a red, and these are just kind of pastel colors of that. So we'll try to keep with that same system here. Okay, so 110 is going to be yellow. And let's copy that and put that underneath the second button. And we're going to do 010, which is going to be a green color, so we can test that out. Whoops. Okay, there we go. And we're going to copy this for all of the spine controls, including the head. So head, spine, and then pelvis will all have a green color to it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is create red and blue for the left and right. So let's copy this in here. And we're going to do a 001. And we'll see what color that does there. So that should be a blue. So I have that on the wrong side, so that needs to be on the left side. Since the left arm is blue, right arm should be red. Okay, so to get a red value, instead of 001, we need to do the opposite. So it's really 100. There we go. And that should get a red. So actually I'm going to copy this over to the right foot. So both the right sides will be red. And we can try that out. So red and red. So now we just need to do a blue for the left side. So let's copy that into the left arm and left foot. But we're going to do 001. And we can copy that over. Now let's test this out. Okay, so we have some colors that are pretty obnoxious, very saturated colors that may not work too well or be very visually pleasing for our user interface, but that's just some basic ways to be able to create some color changes so that you can visually tell the difference between the controls and then the buttons that you're selecting. So we can select the move all, then the head, the spine, the pelvis, the right arm, the left arm, the right foot, and then the left foot. So it's going to be an easy way to use some very basic scripting to create a GUI system to easily allow the animator to be able to select parts of a character rig in case they don't know visually what they can do. So that'll wrap up this video on how to create custom GUI systems in Maya.